And so I do want to say that I've enjoyed greatly coaching with Coach Anderson. I'm guessing with this being, I've had a number of his boys come through, just an amazing family, great part of the Rapids for many years. I'm guessing he's probably moving on, but I do want to give him another round of applause. He's served the Rapids. Okay, so for the A team, we were 13-0-1, which also includes 4 national level games. We allowed 5 goals the entire season, including only 2 at nationals. We played a tremendous possession style, including a national tournament. And I can tell you, for the first 2 years we went down to the national tournament, we would abandon our possession style because we were not good enough to play at that level of possession. And for the past 2 years, we have not done that. We owned and dominated possession even against those national teams. These people, all the way from modified, all the way on up, whether it's futsal or whatever we do, we live, eat, breathe, and sleep possession. I'm sure a lot of these guys see the rondo in their dreams or nightmares at night, and they just know how to be comfortable in those situations. We won the league, the tournament, then Division II Nationals and Nationals, which the girls varsity and the boys varsity went to, has 48 teams, 15 states. Almost all of the teams come from much larger cities like Minneapolis, Dallas, and that sort of thing. Rochester sticks out a little bit on the smaller side, but we certainly hold our own when we go there. We beat teams from Michigan and Kentucky and Indiana and so forth when we went down there. It's the first time since 2018 that I've added someone to the season goals leader list. So John Bushin had 10 goals, and Elliot Weisbrod had 13, which are 9th and 10th on the list. And we actually had a lot of different scores. I mean, often on a team like ours, we have like 1 or 2 or 3 people that do all the scoring. Not this year. Those 2 did lead the team in scoring, but there were a lot of other people right there with 8, 9, and 7 goals and so forth. Even our goalie scored quite a few goals. So, all right, there's a total of 12 seniors moving on. We already talked about a few of them, so let's get any of the other seniors here. Come on up here with me. So ultimately, we do have 12 moving on. But it sounds like I've got 13 fresh meat coming up to be part of our program. So for those of you who are coming up, the number one thing that I always hear is, wow, that's fast. It's going to be a little different than modified, and I would encourage you the best you can to come out to our Sunday nights and be part of the futsal, because that's when you get a full taste of how fast and strong some of these young men are. So I'm going to start with Isaiah Farrell. Just come right up here when I'm talking about you. So I remember seeing Izzy when he first came onto our field, and my reaction was, wow, he's fast. Those who know me well know I have a lot of sayings, and one of them is, you can't teach speed. And so I always find a home for somebody who is very fast, and Izzy has been very fast. And we've worked over the past couple of years to marry that speed with a better touch on the ball, and he's come a long way and was a good contributor this year. He's got the best flips on the team, which he has demonstrated and, on numerous occasions. Your attitude, your humor, your overall presence will be greatly missed. All right, Isaac Weisbrod, up there. So I remember meeting Isaac for the first time. He spent more time telling me about his brother than he did about himself, which is something that he has done. In fact, one of the coolest things about the Weisbrod boys is they are the biggest cheerleaders of each other. When someone else, the other one is scoring or having something else going on, they are right there cheering for each other, which is super cool. But during that time, he has made a name, more than made a name for himself. He was a reserve last year, but moved on to the starting team this year. with lots of good playing, breaking into the starting lineup, and being a great contributor. And your attitude, your presence, and everything about you will be missed, Isaac. All right, Nathaniel Scott Avery. All right, so Nathaniel made a really big stir this year when he showed up, or most of him showed up, to practice this year. He had really worked on his body in the off season. We have seen other players do that. I have a lot of really good stories throughout history where young men have decided, for whatever reason, in the off season, they were really going to put in that time to change their body composition, and Nathaniel did. And that took him from a contributor on the B team to eventually this year being a starter on the A team. It's more than just his body shaping, but that does not hurt when you're playing a game that you often have to run between 2 and 4 miles during the course of a varsity game. So Nathaniel's great work ethic, he was always drenched with sweat, both at games and in practices. I could tell when he would hand me the penny afterwards. Very disgusting, but in a good way. And he is just such a hard worker, has worked so hard. I watched him, struggle and work hard, getting through that B team, coming out this year, changing, and just continuing that hard work ethic, and all of it coming together for him in his senior year, and I couldn't be happier for you. Breaking onto the starting team for the Nationals and doing such a great job. You will be greatly missed. Okay, is Josiah here? Yeah, I think that's Josiah. So Josiah told me after the Nationals this year that the one thing he wished was that he would have found soccer sooner. And I would agree with that. Josiah is a tremendous natural athlete. I watched him very closely last year. He was on the B team. He worked very, very hard. And I kind of figured this year he was going to break through. Not only did he break through, jump on the A team, he was a starter. And I got to tell you, if I could give you my most improved player, definitely at Nationals, he rocked it. I mean, if you could watch a video on how to play as an outside fullback, this was the guy this year. He intercepted so many, I'm getting goosebumps. He intercepted so many passes, he frustrated the other team's wings. And I said, wow, Josiah, you came to play. He said, Coach, I did, and he really did. Your hard work, your speed, your work ethic will be greatly missed. All right, I don't think Max is here. Max showed up a couple of years ago. I'll just go through this quick. He kind of came and we were like, who is this guy, right? This was during COVID or whatever. We watched him play and we're like, who's this guy? And he was a starter last year, tremendous starter this year, happened to bring along a friend, Dennis, which was also a great addition to the team. He had tremendous impact, good goal scorer, lots of fun to be around, so Max as well. Let's bring Paul up here. I remember a very young goalie many years ago who we were looking for a goalie. Keith was moving on and we were like, we need another goalie. And just for some of those young guys coming up, we're going to need another goalie. But Paul very much grew into that craft. He played it super well, was definitely one of the best goalies, not only in the league, but at Nationals. He kept a lot of goals out of the back of the net. He's also my first goalie that I can honestly say would have been a starter for me on the field if we had done that. But it goes to show you, and I know Rapids goalies are often very bored back there. I'm very sorry for that, but I'm very thankful for that as well. A bored goalie is a good thing for a coach. And that's a very hard position to play often for Rapids, until we get to those national games. And Paul had such a good attitude. He was a tremendous field player, scored many goals when we put him out on the field. Just so many critical saves where he just dove, fully extended, knocked the ball over. Just a great all-around player, great guy. I look forward to continuing to work with the Fillion family for a while, but I will very much miss you, Paul. The first time when I met John, and I called him Chad, the whole practice, that unfortunately stuck with him. I don't know why I called him Chad. I had Chad in my head, so he was Chad for a very long time. And still occasionally, when the bad parts of him come out, that's Chad. That's not John. So, and he doesn't let me forget that either. You do make a much better John than a Chad, by the way. John has been a key contributor. He started out also on the B team for 1 year and then moved up to the A team. He's grown into a tremendously talented player. We have played him at attacking mid. Striker John was a thing for a long time, and of course he loves being up there. I love putting him up there as well. But this year he played defensive mid, as he did last year, and just really was a tremendous player back there. Really owns that position. Exactly what I'm looking for, as many of these guys are as well, in a senior. Really stepped up, really was a leader, really was an example to some of these young men. Everybody on my team wants to play one of those triangle positions. They want to play defensive mid or attacking mid, and he played that. And so they're looking to him, what does one of those triangle players do? And he was a great example of that and continued to be. I was so thankful to have an extra year with you. I know I'm glad you stayed another year there. And I will tell you, to score 10 goals as a defensive mid is quite the accomplishment. We've had some defensive mids that have come through. Nobody's ever scored 10 goals from that defensive mid position. You will be greatly missed. Your joy, your Chadness, everything about you will be greatly missed. So. All right, and Dennis, come on up here. So Dennis wasn't sure last year if he was going to be a senior or not. I'm really glad he decided not to be a senior last year. He came back this year. His brother brought his brother with him too. Both of them, for whatever reason, hurt their foot. So actually Dennis, I'm guessing, it's hard to know what the Lord would have had in store, but in our last 4 games, he scored 5 goals. Just in those 4 games, including those were against national level and championship opponents. So I'm guessing he might have had a shot at making some of those record books, but the Lord didn't have it for him this year to do that. But he scored 3 goals at nationals and 2 in the championship game that were tremendous goals. First time I've had a player at the nationals have a college coach come up to him afterwards and talk to him. He's a player I could play around the field. I remember last year when he first came, and he's like, Coach, which is about the only 6 words he said to me all last year, was, Coach, I play defensive mid. And I said, well, you put the ball in the back of the net, so you're playing up top for me. And he did. And he was our leading scorer last year. But this year we put him back in that defensive mid. And I can tell you, between him and John, I definitely have the best defensive mids, I think, at nationals, for sure. They were tremendous. You are going to be tremendously hard to replace. A player like you does not come along very often. I'm hoping you do play at the next level, as well as maybe some of these other guys. And I'm hoping that your brother will also come back and play with us as well. And you will be greatly missed. And I will say, his lack of talking last year was more than made up for this year. He's quite a funny guy and very fun to be around. So. And I think I heard you were maybe playing basketball too. So, very fun. So, new addition to the Rapids here. You will be greatly missed on us. All right, so we will put that down as another successful year for the boys varsity. Let's get you guys all lined up to get a picture, and then we'll get people down.